Hey everyone, it's David here from the Folding Towers podcast. Today we are talking with a special guest, Jason Del Gandio, a philosopher and teacher and author who's spent decades exploring something we will all experience but rarely define, and that's vibes. It's a great conversation. I hope that you enjoy it. But before we launch into the episode, there are a couple of exciting things that I wanted to share with you. First of all, the Massage and Spa Success Summit with Gail Wood is happening 22 to 24 of October 2025. We are thrilled to be guest speakers at this online event alongside an incredible lineup from around the world, and you'll find the registration link to this event in the show notes. Then just a few days later, we'll be at the MIMT Soft Tissue Therapy Congress on Sunday, the 26th of October, an in-person day of learning, community, and professional inspiration. And again, you can register now following the link in the notes. As always, if you'd like to support the show, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Folding Towers podcast. Your support helps us keep these conversations going and bring more great guests to your ears. Let's dive into this beautiful conversation with Jason Del Gandio.
Hello, everybody. Guess what? It's another lovely episode of the Folding Towers podcast. Hello, David.
Hey, Jackie. How are you?
I am wonderful as per usual. How are you going?
Pretty well. I have just started my break, a little week off with the fam bam.
Because it is currently school holidays in Australia.
It's school holidays. I've got 10 glorious days ahead of me.
10? Oh, that's nice.
10
with
days.
The kids.
With the
are
kids.
You doing anything?
We're heading to a little town called Mildura.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of our guests, Kylie Hicks, comes from Mildura, about a 4.5-hour drive here from Adelaide.
You know, you do say little town, but Mildura is actually quite large. I don't know what the population is, but I've been through there, and it's not a teeny tiny little town. It's quite a big centre.
About 40,000 people.
Yeah. It's not teeny tiny.
It's big for Australia.
It is.
You've had an exciting week, haven't you?
Me? Well, not me per se, but my daughter. You're probably referring to my daughter going on a trip. She is currently, as we are recording, in Perth, so in a completely different state to where I am, on a lacrosse trip, and she's participating in an under-15s national tournament for lacrosse, which is a state-run tournament here. It's not anything to do with school or anything like that. And she's absolutely having the time of her life over there. And she's almost like, I don't know if I can say this, but she's kind of like a teenage boy at the moment. She's not really messaging me back very much, and.
So, Mum, leave me alone. I'm okay.
Oh, she's having so much fun. They have gone and done, escape rooms, and they've had dinner out, and they went to Rottnest Island and saw quokkas.
Nice.
And yeah, she's just having the time of her life. And yeah, so I pick her up in a couple of days, and can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah. Amazing. The little bird is leaving the nest a little bit.
No.
Learning to fly.
I hate it, David. I hate it.
All grown up.
She is. She's really loving lacrosse, and it's such a great sport. And just a little fun fact for anyone that isn't aware, because I am a little bit of a lacrosse nerd now. We actually found out the other day that the the preliminary games to see who's playing in the 2028 LA Olympics, because lacrosse is going to be in the Olympics in a couple of years, are happening in Brisbane in pretty much 12 months from now. It's like September, October in 2026. So that's really exciting that we get to host that in Australia.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what a big thing to take all those juniors interstate. Hats off to coaches involved in junior sport. You're doing a lot for childhood development, providing opportunities, and just for that risk that you're prepared to take, that calculated risk. Hats off to you.
Yeah, so many amazing coaches and team managers as well.
Yeah.
Doing all the hard yards.
Yeah, the administration involved in sport is epic, and it's all voluntary.
It is pretty much, It's crazy.
Don't yell at your coach or your club manager.
No.
Hey, what are we doing today, Jackie?
We have an amazing guest today. He's been very patient with us while we chat about our lives. We have an amazing guest. I will just read out a little information. Our wonderful guest is Jason Del Gandio from somewhere in the US, and I can't remember where, so I'll ask you that in a minute, Jason. So you have a PhD in communication studies, and you've been studying vibes for 30 years. You're a published author and an award-winning teacher and a very engaged intellectual. And I honestly cannot wait to hear all about this. From your doctoral work, you've developed your own philosophy of the vibe, referred to as bodily emanation. Jason has also published essays on the topic of both scholarly and popular presses. His latest project is called 20-Minute Vibe, which is an educational space for learning about the vibe, offering videos, essays, and self-paced video lectures for people who are intellectually curious. And he's also currently working on an academic book about vibes, tentatively entitled Vibe Talk: How and Why People Talk About Vibes. Welcome to the podcast, Jason.
Hi, Jackie. Hi, David. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this conversation today.
Yes, very curious. And I think we honestly need to start with should we ask the most important question first, or go straight into what is a vibe?
We need to ask the most important question first.
Okay. All right. Well, that is, what is your who is your favorite superhero, Jason? We must know.
Well, I have to say it's the first time I was asked that question doing an interview, so this is definitely a first-time question for myself.
Excellent.
Right? Now, I have to admit, I'm not really into like the whole Marvel thing or DC thing, so I don't have a favorite superhero. But if I stretch the boundaries of the question and go back to when I was a younger kid in the late 70s, early 80s, and Star Wars, right? And so then you have Luke Skywalker and you have Yoda, and they were the heroes. And in many ways, they were like superheroes because they could do things that other human beings could not do, right? And so I would say probably if I had to choose one person or one theme or one movie or franchise, would be Star Wars with Luke Skywalker and Yoda.
Nice.
You are talking our language.
Yes.
Now, with that, right, it is strange, or perhaps not strange, that a big part of Star Wars is the Force.
Yes.
Which is about this invisible energy that permeates the entire universe. And then flash forward 45 years later, I'm in my early 50s, and I'm the vibe guy. So it does all kind of connect, right? So I'm sure in some way, Star Wars influenced my interest in vibes. I'm assuming so anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
It is so interesting within the context of the movies as well, because you've got the light side, you've got the dark side, and they're very much connected within the universe, the Jedi and the Sith. And then you've got all these other people who just seem to be absolutely oblivious to this world connection. And I guess they say it's woo, like the old ways. Yeah. I remember that conversation with Darth Vader, like, oh, the old ways, almost pagan stuff. Yeah. And yet there they are rocking it, and it just is.
It's crazy.
In the context of obviously the story, I agree. I hadn't really thought about that deeply to this moment here, or at least not in a while. But so in the story, there are plenty of people who are skeptical about this, but yet they see it with their own eyes, but for some reason they don't believe it. I mean, you can see the Jedis doing what they do. For some reason, the skeptics say, well, I don't believe it. It's like, well, I'm not sure how much more evidence you need for the existence of the Force inside of the movie, of course.
That is so true. I just want to watch some Star Wars now.
It's a nice segue into the world of massage therapy, because there's a whole bunch of energy stuff that goes on that, if you're a science-based practitioner and you say, show me the science, there's just a whole bunch of stuff which just happens. And rather than calling it energy work, I like to just call it the humanity of what we do, this personal connection that we have with people. And when you're deeply connected, and some might call it resonance, wonderful stuff just happens. Can you force it to happen? I don't think you can. But when you're in tune with your client, just cool stuff happens.
It sure does. I get kind of a little bit annoyed at therapists that are like the super scientific ones. Like that is, they're like hardline. The science says this. We don't have any evidence. No, that doesn't work. Because like what we do as massage therapists is so individual. Like you can see 100 clients a week, and every single one of them will have, a different history, different health issues, a different outlook on life, a different philosophy as to how their health is impacting them. And you could give the exact same massage to every single person, and they will receive it differently as well. There's so much that, like, and I'm not trying to say that the science shouldn't be there, but there is so much that we don't yet know, and there's so much about the body that we don't yet understand. And to me, you only have to look at there's two things that I always talk about, and one is fascia and the other one is the lymphatic system. And these systems are only just beginning to be understood in our world. 20, 30, even 40 years ago, those systems were not important at all. They don't do anything. So to me, like, yes, the science, amazing, and I love it, and I want to learn about it. But my mind always goes, well, there's all these things that we don't quite yet understand, and I'm a big believer that like there is energy around, and how do you quantify what that even means? I have no idea. So yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you, Jason, and find out what is the vibe.
Well, I guess that's my invitation to jump in.
Yeah.
So, like you mentioned in the intro, I've been studying vibes in one way or another for approximately 30 years. And I became interested in vibes, in the plural, the singular, however you want to think about this, in my late teens. I was involved with various underground scenes, countercultural scenes, subculture scenes, for instance, raves, jam bands, carnivalesque jam bands you follow around on tour, kind of like the Grateful Dead, but like for me, my age group, it was a band called Fish, things like that. And in all these scenes, the experience of the music, the experience of the dance floor was like super intense, right? You're with hundreds of other people, you're sweaty, there's pulsating music, and you literally feel the atmosphere, you literally feel the environment, right? And because of that, everyone in these scenes was talking about vibes. The vibe of the band, the vibe of the DJ, the vibe of the dance floor, my own personal vibe. And in that context, I took up an intellectual interest in this thing we call the vibe, right? Which is strange given the fact that I was like 18 or 19 years old. But I started to ask questions like, well, what do we mean by the vibe? How do we define this? How do we explain this, etc.? And then I went on to college, and I wrote my first paper on the vibe in a college class on nonverbal communication. Then I went to graduate school and got my master's degree, my doctoral dissertation, or for my doctoral dissertation, I created my own philosophy of the vibe, referred to as bodily emanation. So the body emanates or radiates an actual feeling or energy out to the world that is experienced and felt by other bodies, right? And that was many, many years ago. And then over the decades, I've never lost interest in this experience or this intellectual conversation, right? I think it's a kind of a lifelong project of mine, trying to understand what is the nature of the vibe, how do I explain it to people, and also then how do I help other people articulate their own ideas about this thing we call the vibe.
I have a teeny tiny question, which is sort of a bit of a segue into something else that we don't have to go down that path, but I really want to know, is The Big Lebowski like your favorite movie?
It's not my favorite movie. I've seen it a million times like everyone else. I do enjoy the movie, but it is not my favorite movie, no. Okay. Now, I'm not sure where that's going to segue into, so it'll be interesting how you tie this into something else.
Well, we already talked about Star Wars. Like, I know David and I share, we have a lot of crossover with movies and TV shows that we love. So we could totally start talking about, movies if we wanted to, but we won't, because we're here to talk about you and talk about the vibe. But I just had to ask because I'm sitting here just going, it's the vibe, man.
Okay, all right, okay, I got you. All right.
Next, we're going to go into the castle, aren't we, Jackie?
Oh, yes.
It's the vibe. It's the Constitution. That will make sense to our Australian listeners.
If you haven't watched an Australian movie called The Castle, Jason, please add that to your viewing list as soon as possible. Okay. I think you would get quite a lot out of it. I think you would love it.
Okay, awesome. I'll put it on my list for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You should probably ask a good question now, David.
Yeah. So how do vibes differ from body language, intuition, or emotional intelligence?
Sure. Well, I'll first start off by defining the vibe. And so the most basic way I would define it is that it's the exchange of energy between you and other people. So again, the exchange of energy between you and other people, right? But then from there, the question becomes, what is the nature of that energy? Kind of like we were saying earlier, Jackie, about science and whatnot. So for instance, is this energy or the vibe, is it a physical phenomenon or a metaphysical phenomenon? Is it a material phenomenon or an immaterial phenomenon? Is it a scientific phenomenon or a spiritual phenomenon? Perhaps all these things at the same time. And actually, that last part is how I kind of approach the vibe, at least my study of the vibe, where it's multidimensional. It's not necessarily one thing, right? And also by approaching it from a broad perspective, it allows everyone to kind of see it and experience in their own unique way. If you are a scientist, you could approach it through a scientific lens. If you are more spiritual, you could approach it through a spiritual lens, and so on and so on and so on, all right? Then in terms of how it differs from these other things like body language or intuition and whatnot, when we talk about body language, in other words, we're talking about hand gestures, facial expressions, the way your body moves, etc. And that is its own type of experience, but I approach the vibe as its own type of experience, right? Same thing with an intuition. The word vibe and the word intuition are closely linked, and most people conflate them, but I try to separate them out and say they're two sides of the same coin, right? So for intuition, the way that I understand it, is that's really just kind of your bodily knowledge and bodily intelligence. And your body is literally in contact with the wider environment in ways that your conscious mind is not, right? So your conscious mind is where your attention goes. It's like a flashlight. So wherever that flashlight points to, that's what you're focused on. But that light of the flashlight doesn't negate everything else. The rest of the environment is still there, and your body's still there in touch with that environment. And so if you can soften the boundary between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, that's when your intuition comes into play. That you allow your body that's in contact with the environment to speak to your conscious mind and guide your behavior. Having said all that, right, that is closely aligned with the vibe, but again, I don't think it's exactly the same thing as the vibe, right? Because when you say they're the same thing, then it flattens everything out and it doesn't help us. So intuition is its own kind of experience, and a vibe is its own kind of experience as well. They're two separate things.
That's a really great explanation of intuition. I really love that.
Well, the way I explain it, I try to concretize it. A lot of times when people talk about intuition, it's very abstract. And the same thing with how to talk about vibes, where it's esoteric, it's kind of otherworldly, and it might be otherworldly, but we are embodied creatures. And when we experience a vibe, it's through our bodies and inner bodies. And so, that's how it all works. And so you guys are obviously massage therapists. And I know it's one of the questions on the list here. I'm jumping ahead here, but one of the ways that I think of massage therapists is that you use your hands and physical touch, right, to develop a vibrational dialogue with your clients, right? And so if you think about it that way, where it's a constant dialogue, right, you're giving off a vibe, your client's giving off a vibe, and then you are speaking with each other in ways that precede and also exceed language itself. Right? Which is not to say that we subtract language from our experience. That's not possible. But we're communicating on a different level of experience. And one of those levels is the vibe itself.
I want to just say something sort of on that topic, if I may, David.
Of course you can, Jackie.
I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast where and obviously the numbers are not exact, but 75% of people roughly that get massage, and this will differ according to location, are usually women. Women are the ones going to get massage more. I'm just making up that number, but we tend to have a lot more female clients, and I do have a lot more female clients than male, and I always have in my business. But I remember a while back making a conscious decision. I decided this. I didn't say it to anyone really, but I made this decision that I didn't want to see men anymore in my client because I do a lot of pregnancy massage. I love working with slightly older ladies, like 40, 50 years of age. They just are the demographic that I love seeing. And I literally did not say any of this to any of my clients, but the few men that I had in my clinic, was probably like 5 to 10% of men coming to see me, just disappeared. They just stopped coming. And I wonder, and that to me, it was a good thing, because they were not the demographic that I wanted to see. I love doing my pregnancy massage. I do a lot of lymphatic drainage massage, and I do still have some male clients in my clinic, and that's great. But they just disappeared. They stopped coming. And I was just kind of like thinking, wow, okay, how did this happen? Like, what is the energy of this? How did I make this happen without doing anything? I changed nothing on my social media, nothing on my website. And I'm actually really fascinated by this, and I'm loving everything you were saying.
I guess you're giving off the right kind of vibe to push certain kinds of people away and invite other kinds of people into your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Do you have any experiences like that, David?
The big one, and I remember being told at massage school by one of my dear teachers saying, you'll think about somebody you haven't seen for a while, next minute they book in. That happens surprisingly frequently. And I can't say it happens every time that I think about a person. That would be amazing. My list would be full. I haven't seen Angela for a while. Oh, look, Angela's booked in. Yeah. But I've been sitting here a number of times doing some administration. Then a thought pops into my head. Oh, I haven't seen so-and-so for a while. And I think, I wonder how they're getting on.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to my keyboard, and then a notification will flash up and they've just booked in with me. It is freaky. Explain it. I don't think it can be explained using today's available knowledge, but it happens. It happens. It's one of those quantum type thinking things. You just reach across, you touch that person, or they've reached across and touched you. I've tried to understand it. It just is. It just is.
I love it.
But it goes beyond that, though. When your door opens for the first time, meeting this person, and you see them, they haven't even spoken yet, and you either think, yeah, or I don't want to see you again. Or you just feel indifferent to that person. That may be a bit more of a transactional relationship. Or that door opens and you also see that the halo glows around them. You go, we are besties. I love that you have found me. We're going to get on like a house on fire. And either the deep chat happens on the table and you just bounce off each other, and you find out that you went to school together, or you're a long lost cousin, or you've got all the same interests, or that person just goes completely unconscious on the table, and you just know that cool stuff is happening. You just got to leave them alone. Cool stuff is happening right now. They've found you, and it's the right thing.
That is truly what I want, like that energy in my clinic. And that is why I don't want to have some of those male clients, because A, they're not pregnant, B, they're not having lymphedema issues, which is totally my jam. That's what I want to do every day. And I do still have the odd male client come in, and most of them are super lovely, but you said having that bestie that when you walk in and that you just like want to hug them. I have so many wonderful women clients at the moment and I had one yesterday, and she came in to see me for the first time, David. I've never met her before, and she was just like, it was just a match made in heaven. Absolute match made in heaven. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want every single time with my clients. I want to have this really great vibe where, like, we're so happy to see each other, because I don't want to go to work and be miserable. I don't want to go and spend, 8 hours going, oh, when will this end?
So back to you, Jason. How can we tap into the vibes of other people? And what are we feeling there?
Well, I'll try to connect that to what you guys were just talking about, that kind of certain kind of phenomenon. And the way that I see it is that each human being, each person is constantly giving off a vibe. It's not just sometimes here and sometimes there, but we're always giving off a vibe. It's a constant phenomenon. And each person has a core vibe, like a core personality, right? And so if you're talking about you and your clients, you're meeting a client for the first time, what is your core vibe? And what is the core vibe of this potential client? And then how do these two core vibes relate to each other, resonate with each other, or repel each other, right? That not all vibes are good vibes, and all vibes are meant to be with each other, right? And so if you look at the world through that prism or through that lens, it starts to make sense of why we have a first impression with people, why some people were attracted to, why some people were turned off by, right? And this happens all the time, and not just, let's say, in a client setting in a treatment room, but think about going to the grocery store, right? And you're walking down the aisle, and there's maybe a nanosecond where you either have a good vibe or a bad vibe with someone, you gel, you don't gel, or why do you choose, this grocery line over that grocery line for some reason, right? And all these things are happening a million miles an hour, usually below the threshold of consciousness, right? And so a lot of this vibe stuff, you can make it a conscious phenomenon in your mind, and you learn to use that to your advantage. But a lot of it is subconscious and happening below our awareness, right? So the work that I try to do is help people develop that into an awareness rather than letting it sit there and be dormant and be passive. How do we make it more active? Right? That's kind of what you're getting at with your question, David. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in terms of tapping into people's vibes and whatnot, I guess first and foremost, be aware of the fact that a vibe is going on, right? And like I was saying earlier, think more with your bodily intelligence and less with your conscious mind. I'm not saying give up conscious awareness. I'm not saying that by any means, right? But kind of soften that barrier, soften that boundary, and then learn to feel, what other people are giving off, right? Now, when I say that, that can be tricky, and it can be also, I don't say dangerous, but it can be exhausting. Let's put it that way. And as massage therapists, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right? Where I'm sure the work you do can be very uplifting or very draining because you're constantly dealing with people's vibes, people's energies, people's emotions and psyches and whatnot. And if you're a good therapist, I would assume that you're attuned to all of that, which allows you to do the work that you do, right? And so again, for me, I'm trying to help people make everything I just said into more of a conscious habit rather than kind of a passive phenomenon that happens on its own.
So how do we make that a conscious thing? Like, is there some trick to it, or like, is it just the practice?
Sure. Well, I'm glad you actually used the word of practice there, because early on, when I first got into vibes in my late teens, early 20s, I didn't really think about it as a practice, but it is a practice. I guess the best way to explain it, it's like meditation, right? Where if you just meditate once a year, you're probably not getting anything out of that, right? And if you listen to any guru or anything like that, they say you have to do this on a daily basis or like a regular basis, and it takes effort, it takes work, and you have to make it into a habit, right? And the more you do it, though, the more proficient you become and the easier it gets, right? So tying this back to the vibe stuff, right? So first and foremost, be aware of your body. How are you feeling internally? How are you feeling externally? And so on. Then be aware of the overall situation. Where am I at? Who am I with? What in my immediate environment may be affecting how I feel, how I think, etc. Right? Then again, try to soften your perception and soften your ego and think less with your conscious mind and more with your subconscious mind. And then imagine that your body is radiating a feeling or energy out into the world, right? And then lean into that exchange of energy. Like try to make that into your primary mode of engagement with the wider world. And again, from there, though, you have to practice this on a regular basis. And the more that you do it, the easier it gets. Now, having said all of that, over the years, this is probably the number one question people ask me, like, how do you feel a vibe? How do you tap in, that kind of stuff? And for a lot of my life, I really struggled to explain that because for me, I was always good at it. I didn't have to think about this, right? There's a reason why I'm now like the vibe guy, but like I was always into this even before I knew I was into it when I was a kid, right? And so for me, it's kind of second nature, but I realize that's not true for everybody else, right? Most people have to constantly work on this and put in the effort.
I've certainly had experiences both as a therapist and as a client where, say, as a therapist, you go to lay hands on that person and you go, "Ooh, that feels yucky. I'm going to have to guard today, start to push back the energy flow." And massage therapists, a lot of massage therapists work with people who have chronic pain And a lot of experiences of chronic pain have some deep origin coming to a trauma, and often sexual trauma. So there's that darkness sitting within that person. And certainly as a client, I've laid on the table and the therapist has made contact with me, and you go, oh, that touch is yucky. I don't like that. Again, I'll have to push back. And today's massage experience will just be mechanical. This person will rub my skin. You can touch my skin, not my soul today. You've already talked about.
Let's pause there for a moment because I think it's super interesting. And so, what is your experience though of that moment? So, intuitively or vibrationally, whatever word you want to use in this moment, you know that this client has some deep trauma, right? This person didn't tell you this though, but you know it intuitively, right? And so, is it something you feel? Is it something you know? Is it both a feeling and knowing at the same time? Like, how would you articulate that to other people?
Often the word I'd describe is as a deadness. This person feels dead.
And so I would assume that this person, unfortunately, doesn't have the present ability to address that trauma. And so that part of that person is, quote unquote, metaphorically dead.
Right? So that's suppression.
Right, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then, though, with clients that are open to addressing that, like at a massage level, does that feel differently? Like, how would you describe that feeling?
Those that are really, I guess, desperate to feel better, I can almost, it's like they're sucking from you. Like you feel this flow of energy. But then those who they want to get better, but they're not. I guess the desperation isn't there. It is a connection. It's a two-way connection. You feel a flow from you to them and from them to you.
And I would say, I'm obviously not a massage therapist, right? But I've had plenty of massages over the years, and the best massages that I recall, I would describe in the same kind of way as the client, where it's not just physical touch, where there's not to say it again, but an exchange of energy between us. There's a flow between us, right? And I can almost it's almost like a radiating feeling through my body. Like they take their elbow, go down my back or something like that, and it's almost like a string or like a length of electricity that's happening, and I can feel it on my body, and I know that the other person feels it as well. If that makes sense, right? Like I know I feel it, but the way this is happening right now in the moment, I know that he or she is also feeling it.
Yeah. And there is a good number of the, I guess we'll just call them the more sciencey therapists, but really science, the word science means to know or to discover, to find out. Without questions, we can't have science. And if there's no questions, then everything's been learned. So we need to have the unknown, but we have therapists who are purely mechanical. And according to the map of the body, if I press here and I press that 6 times or I hold it for 3 minutes, then change happens. And that's fine. They would connect with a particular type of person who is expecting that mechanical approach to the body. But then someone who just, like the wound is the terminology, an ancient wound. There's been an affliction of the spirit, if you take a biblical term. Pressing on that point 6 times or holding for 3 minutes just doesn't cut the mustard. There needs to be that level of, what am I feeling here? I'll just hang out in this spot for a bit more. What is it telling me? And that internal dialogue which happens in the therapeutic mind. Maybe I'll go over here now. And they'll go, wow, how did you know that you needed to go there? Oh, it called to me. And now this is a point of internal conflict for me, having a science degree and having worked in fields of research okay, well, I need to know more. Why is this happening? Only for my teachers to say, it just is. Okay, that's not satisfactory. What am I experiencing here? And having a martial arts background and within Japanese martial arts and cultivating chi, You have your opponent stand on the side of the mat, and you know you've won when you project your field at them, and you can see the change in their face. You go, "Ha ha! We haven't even touched hands yet, and I can see that I've already made an impact on you." But one of the most remarkable massage experiences I had, and it was in a training session, and I've laid on the table. It was in my experience at the time, it was some woo-woo stuff that I'd gone on to to look at a bit further. Oh, maybe there is something in this. And this person has stood next to me. I don't even remember them touching me, but I remember going, "Oh, this is yummy," and I've gone, I'm out.
Wow.
And I don't know what the time frame was, but the instructor is saying, "Oh, some stuff went on there, David." It's like, tell me more. What happened? Because I don't remember. But it is such a beautiful feeling when the person has the right stuff for you on that day. And it doesn't need to be mechanical. It doesn't need to be 6 times. It doesn't need to be held for 3 minutes. It just is.
Mm-hmm. To use a metaphor here, or I guess an analogy, it's similar to love, like when you fall in love with someone, right? You know what you feel, and then hopefully you both know what you feel together, right? You're not sure exactly how to describe it. You're not sure exactly how to approach it, but you know what it is, right? And I'm not sure, though, if science can quantify that. I mean, they can probably look at your brain waves and they can check your heart rate, and that's all legit. I'm not anti-science in any way, shape, or form, right? But I think there are parts of the human experience that transcend scientific inquiry, or let's say even precede scientific inquiry. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think the human being or the human condition can be reduced just to a set of equations and numbers. If we do that, we take out all the good stuff that makes us human, right? And I think that's where the vibe ties into this. At least that's how I approach the vibe anyway, in terms of my mindset, right? That when we talk about the vibe, there's a certain kind of mystery that we're talking about, and that's why I've been studying it my whole life, because it's inexhaustible, right? And if you take away the mystery of life, why be alive? Like what's the fun in that, right? Anyway, that's how I approach the vibe overall and the
It's
human
very
experience.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and the Babelfish.
It is. I've actually never read that book, but I know of the book, obviously, and it is very, yes, it's very much that. Yes.
Yeah. I guess what we're talking about here, and as therapists, within the first few minutes of meeting a person, we have to establish rapport. They need to feel safe. They need to trust us. And then we'll probably ask them to remove their clothing.
So much happens in those first couple of minutes. Like, it's a lot.
So how are we using the vibe as that form of communication? How are we creating that safety and trust? And how do we sharpen our ability to read our client's vibe?
Yeah. All good questions here. One way to think about this is that each vibe and your own vibe is in its own way always creating a certain kind of atmosphere, whether you think about it that way or not, because the vibe, by definition, extends beyond your body. Right? And so the vibe you give off creates a certain kind of atmosphere that the person walks into. And if that atmosphere is not welcoming, is not inviting, is not trustworthy, then it's not going to work. At least they won't be fully present during the massage. Right? And so part of this, so to borrow terminology from other disciplines and other forms of study, but like set and setting, right? Set your intention, right? With this client on this day, in this moment, for yourself, etc. But then also, how do you create a setting or an environment in your workspace for this person, right? And in saying this, though, I don't want to make it seem like it's all about the vibe and nothing else. It's not how it works, right? So, for instance, it's common when I've got massages that, there's a certain kind of lighting on, like dim lighting or candles, maybe some music, some background music, or incense or some kind of other kind of smells that are happening, right? And so it's a three-dimensional atmosphere. Or another way of thinking about this is that you're addressing all five physical senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, right? And so how do you establish an environment or an atmosphere in which all of the cues, the social cues, point towards a particular type of vibe they're trying to establish for yourself as a therapist, but also relative to the needs of this unique client. All right? And so again, I'm trying to be concrete here, where it's not just any vibe I give off, but like, the color of the room matters, the smell of the sheets matter, right? The size of your hands matter. Like all these kinds of stuff matter in terms of our interaction with each other, right? And every little detail affects the vibe in some kind of way. Right? So being detail oriented could help in terms of establishing a certain kind of vibe in your workspace.
You mentioned that you have received a lot of massage, which is we love to hear. Do you walk into your place that you go to or wherever you've been and go, oh, nailed it. They've got the vibe down. I love it.
That's actually a really good question. That's a good way to think about this. Well, I'll start off with a humorous example where, so I'm an intellectual. I'm always inside my head. I easily get stressed out, so on and so on and so on. And then a lot of times, though, you walk into these massage places. I'm not sure what the terminology would be. And I feel right away, like, oh, wow, they're on a different level than I am. Like, I'm already screwing up the vibe already. Like, my vibe is, like, all stressed out and tense. And here they are, like, hey, how are you? Come in. You want some water? And I can feel it, like, right away. Like, I start laughing at myself. Like, well, then I'm like, well, that's why I'm here, right? So I'll let you do your job and just do what you need to do, right? Yeah. But then back to your question. Well, relative to my personality and my wants and needs, in terms of massages, I obviously like an inviting space, like a warm space, both like physically warm, but also metaphorically warm.
Yeah.
Right? And I like the person to be personable, but not over personable, because it is strange. Like I'm essentially meeting a stranger. Even if I've seen you a few times, just because we know each other's name and we chat, I still don't really know you very well. Right? Now, I've never had a massage therapist who I've gone to for years and years and years. That would be different, right? But I had seen massage therapists, more than once over a few times. You become friendly with each other. But there's a certain kind of boundary and dance that I'm expecting where it's like you have to be sociable and inviting, but don't overstep that boundary, because that would make me personally feel uncomfortable. Now, that's me, though. I'm more of an introvert. I tend to keep to myself. If I was more of an extrovert, I might say the exact opposite. So, and I'm saying that because when we're talking about vibes and establishing a vibe relationship, it really is a relationship, and each relationship is unique, right? And so I'm thinking of you guys being massage therapists, being professionals. I would assume it's a tough dance to dance. Like, it's not easy to read the person and figure out what they need, not just in terms of the massage, but as a person, like as a personality. Like, what do I do in this moment, right? And again, though, just practicing on your intuition, practicing on your own vibes and reading vibes and just reading people in general. I mean, that's kind of the nature of what you guys do. And if you can't do that, I can't imagine being a good massage therapist. Well, let me back up. I would assume that's not possible, but based on what you're saying about the scientific type people, they might not approach like that at all, which would be fascinating to me, that they just see a body that they have to work on as opposed to a person.
And I think they would have their own unique client type as well, who wants to be treated exactly that way.
Oh, interesting.
Almost with sterility.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I can't imagine massage being like that, and enjoying it. But I do get people who come to see me where massage is purely functional, and they book the shortest amount of time. Human touch is not something that they really like or enjoy. I've got a sore neck. I've heard that massage might help me. I'm here. Just make me feel better. I'll pay you the money and I'll go. I don't want a relationship with you. So that's fine. I'll press the points, and that's good. We will achieve that. But I think it is something that is quite well studied in the literature around rapport and therapeutic outcomes. And surgeons are notorious for having terrible personalities. Like they're great in a crisis. They love their detail, can do amazing things, but they prefer their people to be unconscious. And so you sit with them there in the office. And they go, "Oh, Mr. Jones, you've got cancer. We need to cut your leg off. Now, when should we book that in?" Mr. Jones will be going, "I've got cancer. You need to cut my leg off." Yeah. We do know that in that therapeutic space, that therapists who have good rapport with their clients have good therapeutic outcomes. And I remember hearing an anaesthetist say Like how they go under is how they come out. So the person who's freaking out about their upcoming surgery will come out of anesthesia absolutely freaking out, and they're more likely to have complications, and they're more likely to reject the work that has gone on. And I feel like, okay, we're outside of the massage space now, but I feel that surgeons need to have an alter ego, or their stunt double who comes in and does the personal stuff, makes the person feel comfortable. Like, okay, we're going to go through this procedure today. It's okay. I've done this 1,000 times before. Yeah, sure, there's risks involved, but those risks are minimal, and makes you feel really comfortable. So you're accepting of the work that's about to happen.
Mm-hmm. That makes me think about two different kinds of people in the world. I'm being very reductive when I say this, but in my mind, there are two kinds of people. There are vibes people and not vibes people. Right? And again, I'm biased here, but I'd like to believe that if more of us became vibes people, we would have more empathy for each other. We would have better bedside manners, right? We would be able to connect with each other more. We'd be more authentic. And in some small way, the world would be a better place. Now, I'm not trying to be all like hippy dippy or anything like that, right? But I do believe that, though, right? Where some people, and perhaps too many people, are cut off from that vibe experience. They simply don't even acknowledge that it exists, right? And that will then develop or create a certain kind of personality type that is more cold, more detached, right? And I don't think those things are necessarily good traits to have in the world. I don't think they make us better human beings. I think they make us worse human beings. And I'm not trying to demonize other people here. But if you're cut off from that kind of erotic experience, that kind of sensual experience, that kind of embodied experience, that must affect your psychology and outlook in some kind of way, just overall and in general.
Mm.
Everybody that's listening probably needs to have a really quick water break right now, because this is such a great conversation, but it is a touch intense. I am loving it, but I just want to just go have a little bit of water, press pause if you need to, come back, and then, yeah, we're back. I have so many thoughts running through my mind at listening to that whole just previous couple of minutes conversation that we had. And yeah, the word that I just thought of then was empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about, yeah, maybe not being tuned into the vibes, but I wonder where that sort of shifts into not having empathy for people, because doctors, I'm sure, you mentioned surgeons before, I'm sure they have empathy for people, but they are also coming at things from, well, this is a task that we actually need to do, it's really important that we do this, and if we don't do it, potentially there's really negative outcomes. So yeah, this is such a fascinating conversation. I'm loving it.
Going back to that, the analogy that you used, Jason, about the dance floor and feeling the electricity, the space will heave with people. You go to a party, say, and a very likable person arrives, and you'll feel the energy lift. It's like, yeah, Jason is here, and the party kicks off. But then there's those people who walk in, and everyone's having a good time. The door opens, and whoever it is walks through the door, and you just feel it starts with silence, like everything just goes dead, and you almost die inside. The presence of that person, and everything just, okay, how's the weather? That's now the nature of the party. How do you shield yourself from those negative vibes?
Sure. Well, I think each person has to think up of some kind of visual metaphor that works for them. So some people envision themselves wearing a rubber suit and all the bad vibes bounce off. Other people wear, let's say, like a suit of armor, like a metal suit, where the vibes can't penetrate. Other people envision themselves as being surrounded by mirrors, and they kind of just bounce off and reflect back to the other person. I've heard people talking about they imagine their body is surrounded by a force field, and nothing can enter that force field. Right? And so again, each person, I think, has to think of whatever visual metaphor works for them. But then additionally, though, the kind of steps that I try to use, basically preparation, awareness, and then release. So prepare yourself mentally, physically, vibrationally, whatever word you want to use, before you go into a situation where you know there's going to be bad vibes. Right? In other words, you kind of suit up before you walk into that space. Then when you're in that space with that person or those people, try to be aware of how you feel, try to be aware of how your vibe is being affected by these other vibes, and so on. Then, of course, the big trick there is to not internalize those bad vibes. And I myself, as the vibe guy, I have a lot of trouble avoiding that. I tend to internalize the negative vibes of other people, something I've been working on now for a few years. But if you can not internalize, it's very helpful, right? And then the third step is that after you leave the situation, try to release those negative vibes. So again, preparation, awareness, and then release.
With working as a therapist, or anyone that works with people that have, for instance, chronic pain, a lot of trauma, all of these things where the client is perhaps carrying a lot of baggage, and I do work with some elderly clients, and I think this is very true for the older generation, the 70, 75 plus. There's a lot of emotional handling that you have to do. Like, you really have to, I find, almost kind of leave yourself at the door as the therapist and go, okay, how can I really sort of process some of the stuff that this person is going through, because they're going through a lot, and it can be really hard for them to, be that happy person. If you're in chronic pain, like, I can't imagine that is, you're having very many really great days where you're just the life of the party. So yeah, like I can see that using some of these shielding techniques could be really important for, it's not even just body workers, but, people in healthcare and all that sort of stuff.
Or it's just like a therapist, like for mental health issues and whatnot,
Yeah.
right? No doubt about that. Like I can imagine like literally spending 8 hours a day, being surrounded by the person's worst day of their life. And
Yeah.
I applaud that. I've seen a therapist plenty of times. I think everyone should. But in terms of being able to develop that skill set, that's pretty amazing to me. I mean, I wish I had that skill set, and I think we'd all benefit if we had that skill set. I mean, I think it's a life skill. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of this vibe conversation, right? Like, how do you not internalize the vibes of other people, but at the same time, though, remain empathetic, establishing rapport, being in contact with them, being connected with them.
Yeah.
And again, it's like I said before, it's this subtle dance that goes on that takes really a lot of work, and I'm sure years of practice.
Is there any negative or misleading part of the phrase "good vibes only"? Because you do hear that. Only bring your good vibes to this party.
It's probably the most recognized or overused vibes phrase, like good vibes only. And I understand why people say it. Like, no one wants bad vibes, right? We all want good vibes. But I think that is it's not really realistic, right? Like, we're complex creatures, and there are all kinds of vibes. Good vibes, bad vibes, ugly vibes, pretty vibes, chill vibes, happy hour vibes, country western vibes, NFL vibes, all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of vibes, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it's almost like thinking of music and musical genres, right? Like, there's not just one genre of music. Likewise, there's not one genre of a vibe. There are all kinds of vibes. And I think the more you can expand your vibe vocabulary, then you can become more versed in this ability to feel different kinds of vibes, give off different kinds of vibes, and become more of a maestro of vibes as opposed to a passive observer of vibes.
Yeah.
So my father had an operation recently, and he's laying in recovery, and they allowed him to have his phone and his headphones. And he really loves orchestral music, and Beethoven in particular. So I think he was listening to Beethoven's Ninth, which is quite dramatic. And the music swells and swells and swells. And the alarms started going off on the medical machinery as his blood pressure was up and his heart rate was high. And they've rushed over, Mr. Clayton. He's like, it's okay, it's the music. I was just really enjoying enjoying myself right now. It's quite emotional.
It's a matter of feeling very alive in the moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I find it a little bit funny is probably not the right word, but I'm not sure how to describe it. That some music you can feel, like so joyous or like amped up, like, oh, I really love this song. This is so good, and you're singing along. And it might be a fantastic song, but the actual story of the song can be like on the negative side, like it's a breakup song or, something is going on for the person in the story. So I listen to a lot of music and I hear some of these songs and I was like, oh, this is a great song. But then you read the lyrics and you're like, oh.
It's like Under the Bridge.
Or maybe you have a dark side to yourself that you're celebrating, that you would actually enjoy. Like the music's bringing that part of you out and you're enjoying it and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing.
I would say for a lot of people that know me, that's not news to them, actually. It's not something I talk about, but I love it. We need another question, David.
Yeah, yeah. Do other cultures talk about vibes?
Yes, they do, in fact. And so as Jackie mentioned in her introduction, I am currently working on a book. Actually, the book is done. I'm currently looking for a publisher. So if there's a publisher out there and you're listening to this, feel free to contact me. But so it's entitled Vibe Talk, How and Why People Talk About Vibes, right? I'm essentially chronicling how people talk about vibes around the world, right? And so I have examples from North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, so on and so on and so on, right? Sometimes people will use the English version of the word vibe, like it's spelled out VIBE in other countries, right? Sometimes they will have their own words. So, for instance, in Portugal, they will use the English word vibe, but they also use the word waves, but it's pronounced in Portuguese, but waves, like something moving through space and time, right? Then, of course, we talk about spiritual vibes, and you mentioned this earlier, I think, David, in terms of like a primordial life force, then Eastern philosophies, ancient cultures in India, China, Japan, etc., all have words for this. Prana, chi, ki, etc., things like that. All right. And one of the things I've learned over the past couple of years writing this book is that interest in human energy systems is cross-cultural and also extends throughout history around the globe. It's not just in the year 2025 or in America, over in Australia, but really, it is a widespread phenomenon, and people talk about vibes in one way or another quite often, like more than you would actually think. So it's quite fascinating.
Wow. You have another book? You have already written one, or am I mistaken?
Not on the vibe. I've written other books, but not on the vibe. This will be my first book on the vibe, which I'm excited about. Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask what the other books were about?
Oh, well, my other expertise outside of vibes is social justice. So I study activism, social movements, etc., social change. And my other books were all based on activism and social movements.
Okay, interesting.
I've got a background in parks and wilderness management, and I sat in on a lecture by an American fellow called Sam Ham, who wrote a lot of material around interpretations. When you go to a visitor information center, the information you're seeing there is from that practice called interpretation. And I remember in this lecture he talked about creating the environment. So let's say it's an exhibit about dinosaurs. You walk into the dark room, and then the lights start to flash, and the deep rumble of the music happens, and then the mouth of the dinosaur opens and roars, and you feel this thing. And he talked about this concept called Newman seeking, and he said the definition was literally a beckoning from the gods. So then went to talk about it in, say, the religious setting and the big tent revival, where you're in the crowd of people. There's been a lot of music. And so you're already in the mood, in the spirit. You're already you're vibing with the people around you, and then the speaker comes out, and the room goes dark. The spotlight is on him, and he'll be talking really excited, and he lowers the tone of his voice, and he might sit down. He's holding his microphone very casually, and then says, "Let's get real for a moment." And the feeling that you get is like he is talking to me, to no one else, but he's talking to me. And in some ways it's hypnotic, some ways it's manipulation of the setting, but they've created this space where suddenly you're receptive to something that's about to happen. And I'm not sure what my question is from that.
Well, listening to you describe that, it's definitely very vibey, to say the least, right? There's no doubt about that, right? And then I was thinking about, though, in terms of the person that walks out onto the stage and begins to speak, like, how does that individual actually do that? And what's the relationship to the vibe, right? And I guess in my mind, it's the ability to be fully present to everybody in the room, not just to one person, right? So if you are, or to put it another way, if you're fully present to yourself while standing before other people, you will be fully present to everyone that's in the room. And if you can master that ability, I think then that's when you get that kind of experience from everyone, like, oh wow, he's talking to me. It's like, well, I'm talking to everyone, but in talking to everyone, I am talking to you at the same time. So I mean, that's how I would, I don't know, explain it or theorize about it.
Yeah.
As a listener, you're feeling that information very deeply. Maybe.
Right. Yeah. And then actually, it made me think of something I was to say earlier. When we think about a vibe is never just neutral, right? But it in some way contains information, like it's informative and insightful.
Yeah.
And so, again, developing one's vibe vocabulary or vibe capacities here, right? Learning how to distinguish between the subtleties of each kind of vibe and being open to the insight of each kind of vibe, I think is super important. And obviously that's what would be important for massage therapists. And just talking with you two, David and Jackie, in my mind, it's obvious you guys are already doing that. I mean, it's based on how you describe your experience of being a therapist. So it makes perfect sense to me.
Is there anything that we haven't discussed about vibes that you think might be really important for us to know, Jason?
Well, I would say go back to the terminology of practice and habit, right? And so how might you develop a vibe, habit, and practice on a regular basis where you try to consciously attend to your own vibe and consciously attend to the vibes of other people, and not just when you're on stage in front of 1,000 people or anything like that, or just when you're a massage therapist, but I mean all the time, right? When you're with your family or friends, when you're at the grocery store, when you're going to the coffee shop, when you're going for a walk in the park and you just pass people on the streets, right? And if you can develop that kind of habit and that kind of conscious practice, right, this whole vibe phenomenon will come into greater relief for you in terms of your own experience, your own awareness, your own insights, and your own ability to then adjust, adapt, and then also direct your vibe as needed.
Is there something simple that a therapist could lean into this week to try?
Well, I guess just to summarize some of the things we've already said, like 2 points, I guess. Try to become more aware of how each of your clients has their own unique vibe. And then on the flip side, try to become more aware of how your vibe relates to each of those unique vibes. And just do that for a couple of weeks. Just practice that for a while. And then from there, you can go on to experiment with different kinds of vibes and, bring in other kinds of ideas and traditions. But just for the first couple of weeks, again, attend to the uniqueness of each client's vibe and how does that vibe relate to your own vibe, on a regular basis.
I have absolutely loved chatting with you today, Jason. This has been amazing and right up my alley. Like, I love talking about this stuff. So thank you so much for joining us.
There'll be some
awesome.
Mechanical-based therapist out there screaming at us today going, no!
We're probably going to get a couple messages or people think about.
I apologize. I did not mean to offend anyone. I'm speaking from my own biases, my own worldview. Right? We can all get along on this planet together. We all have something to learn from each other. Right? So
I think it was David and myself more than what you said. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. David and I are going to get a few messages like, "Oh, hang on a minute here."
No, because as therapists, we have people who develop that lifelong relationship with us. Like you become their go-to person. They've connected with us on some particular wavelength, whether it be a Stargate connection, or your favorite TV show, or maybe this is the primary school that you went to. Maybe it's the coldness that you approach them. That's exactly what they want and need. We all have a connection to someone somehow, and a lot of us are empaths. We want to be liked by everyone, and it's just not possible. But we'll be liked by someone. Someone will just determine that you're my guy. You're my guy. Yeah. I hope you find your tribe. I think we'll wrap it up, Jackie.
Yes, absolutely. Otherwise, we'll be here for about the whole day, really.
Yeah.
So we could honestly keep going because this is fascinating. I love it. But I do actually have to jump off soon because I'm meant to be somewhere else right now. But that's okay.
Well, if you like what we are doing on the Folding Towers podcast, please head to your favorite listening app, like and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you might even consider leaving us a rating or a review. You can find us through the socials on Facebook and on Instagram and on LinkedIn. You can head to our website, foldingtowerspodcast.com.au, where you will find a transcript of this episode and our back catalogue of over 100 other episodes too. Not all of them, but certainly most of them. This has been a fun conversation, Jackie.
It has. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
You can find out more about Jason by heading to 20minutevibe.com and look at the incredible work that he is doing there. We look forward to seeing your book when it does come out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day, Jason, and I will see everybody later on the socials when I finally get around to posting about things. You know I'm terrible.
Thanks for tuning in to this conversation with Jason Del Gandio. What a fascinating exploration of energy, awareness, and the subtle communication that happens through touch. If you'd like to learn more about Jason's work, we've included links to his work in the show notes. But please don't forget there are 2 big events coming up this October, the Massage and Spa Success Summit with Gail Wood from 22 to 24 October, and the MIMT Soft Tissue Therapy Congress on Sunday the 26th of October, where Jackie and I will be guest presenters. You'll find the registration and details for both of these events in the show notes. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a colleague or leave us a quick review. It really helps others find the show. And of course, you can always support us by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Folding Towers podcast. Every coffee keeps the mics on and the conversations flowing. Until next time, keep folding towers, keep learning, and keep showing up with great vibes.